The recreation hall on Station Vara. 9 smelled like recycled air and bad decisions. I should have known something ugly was brewing the moment I saw the crowd gathering near the training alcove. My kind, the Threen, have excellent hearing. Better than most species in the Galactic Union, actually. So when I heard the wet thud of knuckles against chitin, followed by the sharp crack of exoskeleton giving way, my secondary hearts kicked into overdrive. 3 fourth-year cadets had a junior pinned against the reinforced wall. Not just any junior, either. This was Kix, a Vorlani kid barely out of his first molt. His compound eyes were flickering with pain, all 6 limbs twitching as the biggest of the 3, a rule named Garrett, held him suspended 2 feet off the ground. Maybe next time you'll think twice before scoring higher than me on tactical assessment, Garrett rumbled. His voice had that particular quality that made my spines itch. The kind of voice that belonged to someone who'd never been told no in their entire privileged life. Kix tried to speak, but one of Garrett's friends, a snake-like Cytherian called Voss, slammed another fist into his midsection. The sound echoed through the hall like a percussion instrument nobody asked for. I should mention something important here. Station Vara 9 is the premier military academy in this sector. We're talking about the best of the best, cadets from 70 different species, all training to become officers in the Union Defense Fleet. There are rules. Strict ones. You don't start fights. You definitely don't gang up on someone half your size. And you absolutely, positively do not assault a fellow cadet in a public space where anyone with 2 eyes and a functioning neural processor can see you. But here's the thing about bullies. They never think they'll face consequences. Especially when they come from families with connections that reach all the way to the core worlds. The third attacker, a Dravix female named Helt, laughed as she delivered a sharp kick to Kix's lower thorax. Look at him squirm, like a bug under a microscope. I'd seen enough. My claws were already extending as I stepped forward, ready to intervene despite the fact that Garrett outweighed me by at least 80 pounds. But before I could move, something impossible happened. A human walked into the scene. No, wait. That's not accurate. She didn't walk. She exploded in emotion like a coiled spring someone had just released. 1 second, she was at the refreshment dispenser on the far side of the hall. The next, she was airborne, crossing 20 feet in a single leap that should have been physically impossible for a species without enhancement mods. Her name was Riley Kane. First-year cadet. Human. From Earth, that bizarre little backwater planet that had only joined the Union 5 cycles ago. I'd seen her around campus before. Quiet. Kept to herself mostly. Average height for a human. Maybe 5.5 feet tall. Dark hair pulled back in a practical knot. Nothing about her screamed dangerous. Right up until the moment she grabbed Garrett's arm, the one holding Kix against the wall, and twisted. The sound was spectacular. Like breaking a tree branch, except wetter. Garrett's roar of pain could probably be heard in the docking bay 3 levels down. Let him go, Riley said. Her voice was calm. Conversational, even. Like she was asking about the weather or commenting on the quality of the cafeteria's protein paste. Garrett dropped Kix and spun toward her, his face contorted with rage and shock. You little. He didn't get to finish the sentence. Riley moved again, that same explosive speed, and her fist connected with his jaw. I heard teeth rattle, possibly break. The big rule staggered backward, confusion replacing the anger in his eyes. He probably hadn't been hit like that since, well, ever. Voss recovered first. The Cytherian lunged at Riley, his flexible body coiling for a strike that would have crushed her ribs. Should have crushed her ribs. Instead, Riley sidestepped like she'd known exactly where he was going before he did, grabbed his extended arm, and used his own momentum to send him crashing into a nearby bench. The bench lost that particular argument. Helt was smarter. Or, at least, she thought she was. The Dravix pulled out a shock stick, standard issue for security personnel. Not standard issue for cadets. Which meant she'd stolen it or had connections to get one. Neither option painted her in a flattering light. Back off, human, Helt hissed, activating the weapon. Blue electricity crackled along its length. This isn't your fight. Riley glanced at Kix, who was slumped against the wall, ichor leaking from multiple wounds. Then she looked back at Hel, and something in her expression made my spines stand straight up. It is now, she said. What happened next is something I'll probably tell my offspring about for generations, assuming I live long enough to have offspring and assuming they believe a word of it. Hel swung the shock stick in a wide arc, aiming for Riley's head. Standard intimidation tactic. Make the target flinch, then capitalize on the opening. Except Riley didn't flinch. She ducked under the swing with maybe half an inch to spare, close enough that I could see her hair move from the displaced air, and came up inside Hel's guard. Her elbow drove into the Dravix's throat with surgical precision. Hel dropped the shock stick. Both hands went to her neck as she gasped for air that wouldn't come. Riley caught the weapon before it hit the ground, deactivated it, and tossed it aside like it was contaminated. Breathing's important, Riley said, her tone still conversational. You should try it sometime. Garrett had recovered enough to make another attempt. Big mistake. He charged at Riley from behind, probably thinking he could use his mass advantage to crush her. She must have heard him coming or felt the vibrations through the floor, or maybe humans have some kind of predator since we don't know about yet. Whatever the reason, she spun at the last possible second and dropped into a low stance that put her center of gravity somewhere near the floor. Garrett's momentum carried him right over her. Riley helped him along with an upward thrust that sent him flying into the wall where Kix had been moments before. The impact left a dent. In the wall, I mean. Reinforced hull plating that's designed to withstand micrometeorite strikes. The wall had a dent. Garrett slid to the floor and stayed there, making small whimpering sounds that reminded me of a wounded prey animal. The entire fight had lasted maybe 15 seconds. The crowd that had gathered to watch Kix get beaten was now dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop in vacuum. Except we weren't in vacuum. We were in a pressurized recreation hall with about 40 witnesses, all of whom were staring at this small human female like she just sprouted wings and breathed fire. Riley walked over to Kix and knelt beside him. Can you stand? She asked, her voice gentler now. Kix's mandibles clicked weakly. I think so. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did, Riley said, helping him to his feet. Well, to his 6 feet, technically, since Verlani have 6 limbs. Nobody gets to push people around just because they think they can. That's when Commander Trell arrived. Of course he did. The universe has terrible timing. Trell is a Varsian, all scales and attitude, and he runs the combat training division with an iron fist. Metaphorically speaking, his actual fists are more like clubs. When the 7 hells happened here, he demanded, his eyes scanning the scene. 3 injured cadets on the ground. 1 human standing calmly in the middle of it all. 1 Vorlani who looked like he'd been through a food processor. The math wasn't difficult. Before anyone could answer, Garrett groaned and pointed at Riley. She attacked us. Unprovoked. That human is insane. I couldn't help myself. My translator box actually squawked with static because I started laughing so hard. Unprovoked? You had Kix pinned against the wall. 3-on-1. I saw the whole thing. Several other witnesses nodded. Humans have this saying about strength in numbers. Turns out truth works the same way. Trell's eyes narrowed. He looked at Garrett, then at Riley, then back at Garrett. 3 fourth-year cadets. Against 1 first-year. And somehow, she's the one left standing while you 3 look like you went 10 rounds of the cargo hauler. Is that about right? Garrett's face went through several interesting color changes. Voss had managed to untangle himself from the remains of the bench and was trying to look invisible, which is difficult when you're 7 feet long and covered in iridescent scales. Helt was still gasping for air, but had enough sense to keep her mouth shut. Cadet Kane, Trell said, turning to Riley. Report. Riley straightened to attention. Sir, I witnessed 3 senior cadets assaulting a junior cadet. I intervened to stop the assault. I used appropriate force given the circumstances. Sir, appropriate force, Trell repeated, glancing at the dent in the wall. That's one way to describe it. He paused, and I could see him doing calculations. Political calculations, probably. Garrett's family had connections, but attacking a fellow cadet was a serious offense. And doing it in front of 40 witnesses made it impossible to sweep under the rug. All four of you, medical bay. Now Trell ordered. Kane, you're confined to quarters pending investigation. The rest of you, consider yourselves lucky I don't space you right now. As medical personnel arrived to cart away the injured, Riley helped Kix toward the door. He kept thanking her, his translator struggling with his weak vocalization. She just nodded, like stopping 3 bullies single-handedly was something she did every day before breakfast. I caught up with her in the corridor. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen, I said. Probably both. Riley shrugged. They were hurting someone who couldn't fight back. What else was I supposed to do? Most people would have alerted security, filed a report, followed proper channels. Yeah, well, she said, that slight smile returning. I'm not most people. That, I was beginning to realize, was the understatement of the cycle. 3 days later, the investigation concluded. Garrett and his friends were expelled. Riley received a formal commendation. And suddenly, every cadet in the academy knew one universal truth. Humans might be new to the Union. They might come from a backwater planet nobody had heard of until recently. But you did not, under any circumstances, make an enemy of one. Especially not if her name was Riley Kane. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.